The review embargo for Suicide Squad was lifted on August 2nd, 3 days before the movie's wide release on August 5th. This did not go well, and the movie plummeted to the mid-30s on Rotten Tomatoes within hours. Warner and DC had struck out with critics yet again, as 3 out of 3 DC Expanded Universe movies are now certified rotten. This is not something that Warner are happy about, so in this video, we will cover how Warner restructured its DC film division in the aftermath of Batman vs. Superman, the production trouble that Suicide Squad was subject to, and the backlash over the movie being certified rotten. Unlike Marvel Studios, who make Marvel movies and nothing but Marvel movies, Warner, whose parent company also owns DC Comics, is a Hollywood studio who makes all kinds of movies. Outside of Batman, the DC Universe was never a real priority for the studio, not until 2013, when Kevin Tsujihara was named chief executive of Warner Bros. It was his decision that DC would replace the concluded Harry Potter and Hobbit franchises as ongoing cash cows for the studio, and it was him who greenlit 10 upcoming DC movies in 2014. As such, DC isn't just important for Warner's bottom line, it is important for Tsujihara's future and legacy at Warner. What was to become the DC Expanded Universe was already off to a rocky start when Man of Steel underperformed at the box office in 2013, and having started what has since become a trend for DC, to be certified rotten. Batman vs. Superman was a reaction to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and Warner needed it to be a hit and cross the elusive $1 billion mark, which the movie fell far short of. Fears that Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman might not end up as the universally praised blockbuster success that Warner had counted on it to become started in February of 2016. That's when Drew McWeeny first reported that Warner had started showing the finished movie to test audiences, who did not respond to it like Warner had hoped and imagined they would. Warner then effectively hid the movie up until the week of release, and embargoed reviews until a couple of days before it opened. After positive tweets from famed screenings came in earlier in the week, the movie was quickly certified as rotten by actual reviews once the embargo was lifted. Batman vs. Superman was projected to open to $180 million, but actually opened to $160 million, $20 million below projections. How much of this discrepancy was caused by the reviews and how much was due to lofty projections remains uncertain. In its second weekend, Batman vs. Superman suffered one of the worst drops in film history, dropping 68%, which is in the same ballpark as Fantastic Four and X-Men Origins Wolverine. The movie went on to gross $873 million worldwide. This would have been an impressive feat for almost any other movie, but not for Batman vs. Superman, which Warner fully expected to gross multiple hundreds of millions more. This is a big deal. When a movie and the entire upcoming fiscal year is being planned and budgeted, an expected return is projected, and this is what is pitched to the investors who actually pay for it all. Those investors are not in it to break even, or even just profit a little bit from it, but to maximize the return on their investment. When a movie fails to yield a projected return on investment, the investors would have been better off investing their money elsewhere, which could make securing funds for similar future movies more difficult. Also, if large quantities of toys, t-shirts, and other merchandise made on license remains unsold because the movie didn't click, those license holders aren't going to come back later. Worst of all, though, is that this discrepancy between projected and actual earnings is an indication that Warner's chosen approach on how to do DC on film doesn't click with the majority of audiences. As a result, several sources, such as Birth Movies Death and others, reported that there was turmoil within Warner and considerable tensions between Zack Snyder and Warner executives. Batman vs. Superman was supposed to get DC on film caught up to where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now. Instead, they still found themselves in a position where they had to win audiences over, but now from a position of disadvantage, as audience confidence in the DC brand is arguably reduced following the release of Batman vs. Superman. In the aftermath of Batman vs. Superman, Warner made several changes behind the scenes. In May, The Hollywood Reporter broke the scoop that a new division of Warner dedicated exclusively to DC films had been created. This new division was simply called DC Films. The division would be led by producer John Berg and comic book writer turned producer Jeff Johns. Johns would also be made president and chief creative officer of DC Entertainment. According to the article, Warner hopes that the seasoned film producer and comic book veteran will help replicate the kind of success Marvel Studios has had under the vision of Kevin Feige. During this restructuring, Charles Roven, producer on Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman, was relieved of DC responsibilities. Another result of the restructuring is that Zack Snyder's influence on the future of DC films will be even further reduced, more than when it was when Ben Affleck was appointed executive producer on Justice League. Click here or on the link in the description for further details on that. By the time this restructuring was complete, however, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, and Justice League, all developed under the previous management, were already in production. Being the direct follow-up to Batman v Superman, the pressure is on for Suicide Squad to deliver. Birth Movie's death first reported the Suicide Squad reshoots on March 31st. According to The Scoop, the Guardians of the Galaxy-inspired teaser trailer featuring music by Queen had been met with an extremely positive response. Alas, this trailer was not representative of the movie, as every single funny moment of the movie was put into that trailer. According to The Scoop, Warner had okayed reshoots to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. The reshoots were to add more humor and lightness into the film. The author of The Scoop, Devin Faraci, hastened to add that they were not adding more jokes, but that they were beefing up character moments and character interactions, and that this was quote-unquote great news. At CinemaCon, director David Ayer himself told Collider that the studio had asked him if he wanted something else for the movie, and he answered that he wanted another action set piece. He elaborated by saying, "If they don't like your movie, they tend to not want to invest in it. If they love your movie, they want to give you what you want. And I don't think there's any director that finishes a movie and says, 'Wow, that's perfect. That's what I really want it to be.' Every movie I've ever made, I wish I could go and grab some additional stuff, and that's exactly the chance I got this time. It's like getting a new car, but you get fancy rims and a new stereo." When asked if the reshoots are about adding just one new set piece, or if they added in more new footage throughout the film, Ayer admitted that it was a little bit of both. Ayers claimed that studios tend to not invest more in your movie if they don't like it, need some modification. In the event that a studio isn't happy with a low-budget standalone movie, which doesn't mean anything in the bigger scheme of things, then it's true. The studio usually won't throw good money after bad. But strategically important tentpole movies like Suicide Squad are another matter. If the studio aren't happy with it and deems it necessary, they will have no second thoughts about shelling out tens of millions in reshoots to make such a movie work, considering the long-term cost of doing nothing may be far greater to the franchise than any short-term cost of attempting to fix it. Sometimes this works. Reshoots helped Star Trek Beyond because the initial cut of the film didn't work, and they not only gave The Conjuring 2 its best scenes, they provided fodder for a spin-off movie. But other times, reshoots can make matters worse. On May 10th, Tom Dagnino, aka Schmoville's resident madman Bobby Finstock, tweeted, "Just got word Suicide Squad is a mess. You heard it here first." Tweets like this should be taken with a grain of salt, but not discounted outright either. On August 3rd, The Hollywood Reporter would reveal exactly what had transpired behind the scenes. According to the publication, David Ayer's Suicide Squad script was written in just 6 weeks. The script could have benefited from being tweaked more, but with a locked release date looming over the horizon, there was no time, and pushing back the release date was not an option due to the huge deals with branding partners involved. Things really started going sour after the release of Batman v Superman, as Warner were deeply rattled by how it was received. Kevin Tsujihara in particular was pissed about the damage to the brand, and the publication describes an atmosphere of panic, tension, and high egos. The Warner execs were concerned that the finished movie wouldn't deliver on the fun, edgy tone of the well-received teaser trailer. So while Ayer pursued his original darker vision, Warner's set about working on a different alternative cut, assisted by Trailer Park, the company that had made the trailer. In May, both Ayer's more somber version and a lighter, studio-favored version were tested with audiences in Northern California. Once feedback on the two versions was analyzed, it became clear it was possible to get to a very common ground place between the two versions of the movie. For all intents and purposes, that quote-unquote common ground was a modified version of the Warner's cut of the movie, which featured more characters early on and fewer scenes with the Joker. Getting to that place of consensus, however, required millions of dollars worth of additional photography. In a joint statement to The Hollywood Reporter, aka Spin, Ayer and Warner Brothers production president Greg Silverman said, This was an amazing experience. We did a lot of experimentation and collaboration along the way, but we are both very proud of the result. This is a David Ayer film and Warner's is proud to present it. According to The Hollywood Reporter's sources, the movie's break-even point is around $750 to $800 million, and the studio will consider it a win if it can get anywhere close to that. This indicates that the studio will settle for avoiding losses and has all but given up on any hope of the movie actually becoming an acclaimed success. Warner Bros. Embargoed reviews until the evening of Tuesday, August 2nd. Then, the reviews started pouring in, and they weren't pretty. Many fans were surprised by the negative reviews. Others saw it coming, but all fans were disappointed that yet another DC movie will have to bear the stain of being certified rotten. Some even fanned the flames of the old accusations that critics are biased against DC and towards Marvel. Check out our earlier video for the truth behind those accusations. Let us know if the reviews have changed your expectations for the movie and what you thought about it in the comments section below. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button. Join us for spin-free news and analysis of the happenings and corporate politics behind the scenes of your favorite genre movies, as well as explorations of your favorite characters and their backgrounds and context here at Midnight's Edge.